I need to record this. We're not going to follow all of those steps. But we are going to use what you should have looked at on the Ed puzzle to kind of give us a framework to begin with. Okay, so here's how this is going to work. Oh, come on. Okay. So the framework that we are going to use, we are always going to look at and try to decide. Why isn't that going away? Okay. We are always going to look to decide, first thing, are there any holes? Are there any vertical asymptotes? Are there any horizontal asymptotes? Okay. So to find holes, remember we're looking for whether or not there is a common factor in the numerator and the denominator. And in this case, if you look, there's no common factor in numerator or denominator. And so there are no holes. Okay. For vertical asymptote, remember we are looking at the denominator. So we would say x minus 2 is equal to 0. That tells us that x equals 2 is a vertical asymptote. Okay. And then lastly, for horizontal asymptotes, we have to look at the degree of the polynomial in the top and the bottom. And in this case, for this example, the degree is the same. So remember, when it's the same, you're comparing the leading coefficients. And you write that ratio. Okay? So this is telling us, remember, for horizontal asymptote, it's always going to be y equals. For vertical asymptote, it's always x equals. So horizontal asymptote, because of this ratio, y is equal to 3. Okay, look at the ratio of the leading coefficients. So 3 over 1. So y is equal to 3. So we kind of use this to just kind of draw out a basic idea of what we're looking at here. We have x equals 2 here. We have y equals 3 here. Okay, so just watch. Don't write anything. Just watch and think about this for a second. Based on what we're seeing here, with this one asymptote, our graph is either going to be here and here, right? Or it's going to be here and here. So what we're going to do is actually just plug in a couple of points into the equation to figure out where the values are in comparison to that asymptote, whether it's above the horizontal asymptote or whether it's below. Okay, so we're going to do a table of values. We need to think about values that are less than x equals 2. So let's plug in, I don't know, how about x equals 0? Let's make it easy on ourselves. If we plug in x equals 0, we're going to have negative 3 over negative 2, which is equivalent to 3/2. So that's 1.5. So that's telling us we have that point right there. Nice, right? That tells us then, I'm going to draw in one other point, but that tells us that this graph is going to be on this part. That branch is down to the left. That means the other branch is going to be up and to the right. And that's all you've got to do. You've got to show that you know that. We don't have to be real precise. I am going to show you how you can find one other point here, because this is kind of a key point that can be very helpful also. If you see that you have x's in the numerator, that can help us find the x-intercept, where it's crossing the x-axis. So if we go through and plug in, if we say 3x minus 3, which is what's in our numerator, if we set that equal to 0 and we solve, then we get 3x equals 3, we get x equals 1. So that's the point 1, 0. So we can graph that point also, and we know. So I didn't do a very good job of drawing this. I should have drawn that over a little bit farther. Let me erase and clean that up a little if I can. So that's a second point that we could put on there, is this 1, 0, to help us draw in the graph. Okay? All right, questions, comments, thoughts on that process? I'm seeing lots of this. You guys want to be done as quickly as I do, I get it. But I also want you to kind of understand this, because you got to try to figure this out, okay?